Hey everybody, it's springtime here in the Midwest, and that means Dryad saddle season, also known as Cerioporus squamosus or the pheasant back. These can be really tricky, and if you're part of mushroom boards on Facebook or on other websites, you know that there will be tons of idea requests coming in during the spring. And even after the idea requests, then people will start saying, okay, I found these, how the hell do I cook them? And they are pretty tricky. They also have a really interesting flavor, which I'm going to smell pretty soon when I start cutting them up. Kind of like cucumber, really like cucumber, and melon rind, this strange kind of melon rind taste. But they're really a beautiful mushroom, and if you go out and hunt morels, you will definitely see them, especially in the Midwest, because they really like dead elm trees. But the tricky part is that size is not necessarily an indicator of tenderness. And these things get really tough really fast. I have a couple little tricks that I like to use though, and I'll start off with the first one. The first one is the fingernail test. So when I'm in the field and I see a Dryad saddle, I'll cut it off, and the first thing I'll do, I'll give it a little scratch. And if I can easily remove the pores, that's probably going to be a decent indication of tenderness. This guy, you can see the pores don't really come off there. Another thing is that take a look at these pores. Can you see how open they are? Where they're kind of like a little hexagonal shape almost, but look at how open those are. You can see spaces right in there. Now let's take a look at kind of a medium-sized one, and you can see it's a little similar to the big one, maybe not as much, especially out here kind of on the margin. Then we have the eating specimen. So these ones, if I pick them this young, I know at least this part and this part, this is going to be pretty tender. But take a look at those pores. So this is what you want. You can barely see that there's pores here. And if I give it a little scratch, they just come off really nice and easy. But yeah, you can see they're barely just starting. Even with these though, this stem can be pretty tough. So now, the next thing I like to do, well, usually I will scrape some of the pores off, just because I kind of like the texture. So that's kind of up to you. Cook some and see how you like it. But the real kicker is using a tool called a mandolin. So because these can be kind of tough, shaving them really nice and thin is a great way to get them to be tender. And because this root, the stem here, not root, the stem here is going to be firm, I can feel it, it's like a rock. This makes a great little handle. So from there, I'm just going to shave my Dryad saddles. And I can just feel, you'll be able to feel kind of the reverberations as the mushroom hits the blade. This thing is going to cook up very nice. But sometimes mushrooms this size, Dryad saddles this size, they might not be that tender. They're kind of tricky. And now, okay, so I can feel that I'm getting close to the stem. So this part is starting to catch on the blade. So from here, now I might just kind of turn it, and I'm just going to shave around where I can feel it's getting tough. And then afterwards, I'll discard that. Or you can dry it and powder it or whatever, but you're going to need a lot of Dryad saddles to get some powder to do something with. But this is what you want. This right here is the key to cooking Dryad saddles, is to shave them paper thin. And when they're paper thin like this, they're just really going to have a nice chewy texture. The flavor is not for everyone. I mean, admittedly, I was looking for morels, yesterday and I did not find morels. I found Dryad saddles. So to me, they're kind of a consolation prize. If I am in a patch and I'm picking a lot of morels, I am probably not going to bother with these and I'm going to pick the morels. But that's just me. Sometimes if I find a whole bunch of really good ones, I'll take them all. But it's kind of up to you. And like I said, the flavor is really interesting. Okay, one more here. The little tender guy. Just for posterity. And after your Dryad saddles are shaved, I can feel in this guy, even part of the stem will be nice and tender after cooking. But after you shaved your Dryad saddles, I just put up a really nice pickle recipe that's kind of like a hot, spicy dilly bean pickle with jalapenos and dill. The trim and scrap here makes really good broth that I like to make into ramen. Probably one of my favorite ways to do it, but also just shaving them like this and sauteing them a little bit is really great. So that is how to make Dryad saddles tender. Shave them on a mandolin. And if you see a big one, it might look nice, but it's probably not going to be that tender.